welcome to the second episode of 10 for the Chairman. So just to recap, we take 10 questions every week from subscribers who are the incredible, generous part of our community that put up money every month that we use for Jump Point, for doing our community content, increased video stuff, which you're going to see more and more. This is part of what we're starting to do in LA now. So thank you all out there, the subscribers that are helping us do this. As such, we're going to answer 10 questions from subscribers every week. So first question up is from Villa Ovi. When dogfighting module is released, do you need to own the ship if you want to fly it? Are you able to test all the ships which have already been made in the game? So the concept with the dogfighting module is you should be able to fly the ships that you have in your hangar out there in the dogfighting module. So generally the answer would be no, you need to own them. Although I will have the caveat that in the very early stage of the dogfighting module, we are not going to have every one of the ships to the stage that they can actually dogfight. So yes, you can climb in them, you can see them in the hangar, but there's a lot of extra detail that goes into the ships. There's all the different items, the thrusters, the damage states, the damage models that have to be done for the ships, and that just takes a lot of work and effort. So we are probably going to be a case where we will maybe only have one ship or two ships at the beginning, and then it will increase. So the Hornet's the one we're focusing on right now, and obviously things like HUD change for different ships and all the rest of stuff. So there may be a case where at the very beginning we just give everyone basically can fly the same ship, and we just put a temporary sort of test Hornet in the hangar, and they get into that and they do the dogfighting module. But longer term, it should really, the ships you can take to play in arena mode against other people would be the ones you should own in the hangar. Okay, next question. Premium Cabanu asks, will we be able to transfer subscreens from our cockpit, say radar, to second, third monitors in our computers? So we're definitely really interested in sort of second screen support. So we're looking at being able to do that on, say, a tablet that you have, where you could put one of the VDUs from your cockpit to that. We're also, I think it would be interesting to explore it on a multiple monitor situation. Although, when I've talked about this, just to be sure, this won't be functional in the dogfighting, and it's a longer term goal for the game. So the idea would be we'd have some of that when the game's fully done. So maybe it would roll out as part of the dogfighting as it improves over time, but not at the beginning. But yeah, we would like to do that spot. We think it would be great. So next question. Midget asks, can NPCs fly on their own while you are still online? So I'm not 100% sure what the specific of the question is. I mean, NPCs definitely can fly on their own. I think the question probably relates to if you have some NPCs working for you, what do they do? If you're online, if they're flying on your wing or manning your ship, then yes, they're definitely doing their stuff and they're doing their functionality. If you have logged off, no, the NPCs that are working for you aren't off there, running a business for you. I think you need to be online to have the NPCs you've hired be actually doing their stuff. Okay, on to the next one. Obsidian asks, there were a couple of threads with overwhelming support to go with the MMO-ready backend and single player versus AI, and I'd like to know if Chris has made a final decision yet as to which way he's going to go for the dogfighting module. Yeah, I mean, that's this is a good illustration of some of the things that are sort of going to crop up in the development stage, where when we get to a certain point, we can sort of make a choice of, okay, do we do it right? Do we do it the way that it's going to be in the final game, or do we hack something in right now just so we can give it to people? And my preference generally in that case is don't hack it, do it right. Because if you hack it, you put it in, you do work that you're going to have to throw away. And really part of the whole idea of the dogfighting module is to get it out there so we can test the back end and see how many people we can have in one area. See how fun it is flying the ships around. See whether the weapons are balanced correctly. And it's not really that useful if you're throwing out there with the back end that won't be your final back end. So I think I'm probably leaning towards doing it the proper way, although that potentially has impact on when everyone gets their hands on it, which I know there will be a fair number of people upset because they just want to play it early, which is cool. But I think let's do it right, because the goal is to build a great game, and I'm more focused on the final goal than sort of the details leading up to that. And things change as you go. So hopefully that answers the questions there. Next question is from Prince Chips Trajan, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. What is the difference between TR1, TR2, TR3, etc.? And is there much difference between those levels? So TR1, TR2, TR3, and so on that's what we're calling the thruster rating. And the thruster rating is really a power band. Not all TR1s are the same. Ones by a better manufacturer, ones that are overclocked, ones that are slightly higher grade could probably put out more thrust than, say, a cheapy low-end TR1. But you are pretty much guaranteed that a TR2 will be at a higher band than a TR1. So if you step up to a TR2, even the low end of that will put out more than the highest end of a TR1. And also when you go from TR1 to TR2, TR3, don't assume that it's a linear progression. So especially on some of the later thruster ratings, those can be geometric, where you're moving up to the capital ship sizes. A TR6 could be double what a TR5 is, for instance. So you should think of TR1, TR2, TR3. Think of them more like, say, a car engine where you have a V8, a V6, a V4, a V12, and obviously the ones with more cylinders probably put out more power, and they can easily put out more power than, say, a four-cylinder. But a four-cylinder can still be fairly powerful, and obviously there's a lot of variety in the power that four-cylinder engines can put out. And that's kind of the idea with the thruster ratings, is that TR1 represents a band of thrusters of a certain level, and TR2 is like the step up, and TR3 is beyond that. Okay, on to the next question. Dread Pilot P asks, how close will the flight and combat model that we get in December be to the intended finished product? Will the envelope of what we do be basically set in stone, or more of a rough first version that we'll be getting tons of refinement and tweaks to the flight model as we go? Okay, so this kind of goes back to the question I answered from Obsidian, but the whole point of the dogfighting module is to get it out there to test a whole bunch of things, our back-end system, whether the flight control model's fun, whether the weapons are balanced correctly, or whether it's too overwhelming our system designer, we need it smaller. And so as part of that, yes, nothing is really going to be fully set in stone. I mean, it's going to be our best first guess of what we think is fun, and we want to refine it from there. If something's really broken, obviously we're going to fix it. Hopefully stuff won't be too broken. I mean, I would like everyone out there to realize that the dogfighting module that they get, the first one, that's not it. That's not going to have all the features, it's not going to have all the functionality. It's going to have a limited amount of features and functionality, and then it's going to grow over the next year while we're working on the game. And so by the time the game is finished, the dogfighting will be finished and honed and everything. That's the process. So we're just sharing the process really early with all you out there in the community to make a better game. And so in that case, as I was answering to Obsidian, that also means that we're not the schedule for it may not be an exact science, because there's not much point in testing something if we feel like, okay, well, we're not ready to test the multiplayer now, so because we want to put it on the proper system instead of a sort of hacked in system. So we'll give it to you a little later to test that bit. Okay, on to the next one. Beer for the beer god, I guess likes a lot of beer. What would you say to backers who are concerned that there's no point in getting ships like the Caterpillar or Retaliator because the Constellation looks like it will be the best ship to have? I would say that that's silly, because I don't think there is a best ship in the game. They're all going to have different pros and cons. We're deliberately designing things so there is no best ship. So something like the Caterpillar, for instance, if you are more into sort of trying to board a bigger ship, take them over, a Caterpillar is definitely better for that than a Constellation. But also, all the different ships are going to have sort of different pros and cons. So for instance, bigger ships are cool because you can have multiple people on them, you can have turrets walk around, but bigger ships, just like in real life, won't be able to turn as fast or be as maneuverable as, say, a smaller ship will be. There isn't really a best for anything. There may be a best for this particular role, but it's sort of, I think, that's the beauty of Star Citizen. There are lots of different roles, lots of different things you can do. And we're very focused on having different roles and functions for the ships, so there'll be different kinds of play styles, all based on what you want to do. And so that's what I'm most looking forward to in the game, is to have this whole variety of ships. And some people may just want to be flying single-seater ships and focusing on dogfighting. People may want to be multiplayer, co-op, bigger ships, doing exploration or trading runs or whatever. So I think there's going to be a vast amount of play, and it'll be a lot of fun for everyone. Okay, next question. The True Lost asks, how entering dogfight will be handled? Will you start your ship in your hangar in an arena or spawn magically in space? Okay, so I kind of answered this on a previous subscriber question in last week's show, but essentially you start in your hangar, that's our entrance point to the game is the hangar at the moment, and you'll be able to adjust your loadout on the holo table, and then you climb into the cockpit of your ship, and then you fire it up, and then as you fire it up you basically are entering the dogfight mode, and so the hangar sort of, you know, holodeck style disappears, and then you're in space, but it's really sort of a holodeck version of space. And that's how as you fly there, when you finish it, you come back into your hangar. So hopefully that answers that question well. Next question is from Dutch. He asks, how detailed will damage modeling be? Will angle of impact be taken into account when calculating armor penetration, with sloped armor having a chance to deflect shots? So damage modeling will be very detailed. I mean, that's actually one of the issues with like getting everything ready for the dogfight, is that there's a huge amount of assets that have to be built besides just the ships you've seen. All the different pieces have to have multiple damaged parts at various levels of damage. There's a whole bunch of really cool graphical stuff that we're going to do for that, and we're modeling it pretty detailed too. So there will definitely be the angle of incidence of a projectile hitting armor and ship will count in terms of the damage, its penetration ability, all that. My goal is to have the actual base level of the game actually physically detailed and pretty, like to a level that I haven't done in one of my past games, and then just sort of have sort of the high-end ship control stuff. Make it easier to fly around and use, but underneath it all, it's all physically correctly modeled. So we're actually modeling like internal system damage. So if you have you have a targeting computer, avionics system, or a life support inside your ship, we actually have a place physically for it, and it has its own geometry and render geometry. And if a projectile goes through the shield, penetrates through the shield, and then penetrates through the armor, we actually trace that projectile, and it will, if it hits that system like it would hit it in the physical space, then that system takes damage and potentially gets damaged. So we're actually modeling all this in an extremely detailed way. So if you sort of know where the weak parts, the critical parts of another ship, you should have a bit of an advantage. Okay, last question we have today is from P. Kirkner, and his question is, what sorts of challenges is optimizing netcode for combat in true 3D space with 6 degrees of freedom presented? Are the issues presented by packet loss and high latency roughly comparable to a first-person shooter, or are you expecting this game to be more latency dependent? Packet loss, high latency, I mean, obviously high latency effects on any stuff, and packet loss, we definitely will be going back and forth with a lot of data because the ships are pretty heavy data-wise, have lots of moving parts. So that potentially could be an issue, but that's all the sort of stuff that we want to be working on and testing out, and that's the whole part of like the dogfighting module, and also really why we would want to have the final sort of back-end MMO, at least a rudimentary version of it, working for the dogfighting. There are advantages to the space sim part of Star Citizen or Squadron 42 in terms of sort of multiplayer and netcoding compared to a on-foot first-person shooter. Now, of course, we do have an on-foot first-person section, so that will have the same problems that you have in a Call of Duty or something. But basically, when you fly a ship, you literally, like, the problem with a first-person shooter is like I can be here and then I can step here and I can step here. So basically, the movements of your avatar can be fairly random and not very easy to predict. Whereas in a ship, you can't do that. You've got to like turn in the so essentially in sort of the spaceship scenario, you can actually do a much better job of predicting kind of where the player ship's going to be. Okay, hopefully I answered that question. So that brings us to the end of the second episode of 10 for the Chairman. Hopefully you enjoyed or found my answers informative, and I will see you next week.